Hello, and welcome to our Santa Sophia Connect. This is the second of our sessions this week. Yesterday we had the primary school, and that was a great success. So I want to invite everyone to share with us information about your child's learning. Many of you would know that I've been a big fan with every enrollment interview that I've done. I have spoke passionately about the need to keep parents involved and informed in your child's learning. I've said to you that the semester report, it's too late. The horse is bolted, because when you get that report at the end of the semester, it's too late to correct the learning that happened in the first two terms. So this is our version. We're coming good with keeping the parents informed about your child's learning. Now, this evening, I've got two of my local experts, Mr. Castellino.
Good evening, everyone.
And Ms. Magistrato.
Hi, everybody.
And they're going to share with you their learnings and help you understand how the digital portfolio can be of benefit to everyone. We've just noticed Maria Valenti's come on. Thanks, Maria. You were on last night as well. Thanks for your great support. Okay, so I'm going to take a back seat, and I'm going to hand over to Daryl and Ivy to share with you their understanding of the digital portfolio. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. So it's wonderful to be here once again for our Facebook Live, and Miss Magistrato and myself are quite excited by this evening's opportunity to talk to you. So as you know, we do things very differently here at Santa Sophia, and we're trying to be as innovative as possible. And one of the things which we were very passionate about, as Mark made mention earlier, was connecting with our parents. We want our parents to be in the loop. And one of our initiatives is the digital portfolio. So I'll first of all just ask Miss Magistrato, kind of what's the purpose of the digital portfolio, and how do we use it here at Santa Sophia?
Okay, so basically the digital portfolio is something that the students create when they're in year 7 or when they arrive to the school. And it's a Google site where the kids can compile all of their work, all of their assessments, their classwork, and they can reflect as well on their work. So what they would do is they have their work, then they would get feedback, and then they would reflect on what that feedback means, and they would figure out what their next steps would be. So we call that feed forward. So what happens is that they compile all of their work for all of their subjects, and so it's a reflection tool, an assessment tool, so that way they can figure out what they need to do to improve.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we really try to work with our students, getting them, that whole self-reflection way, so that students are really, driving their own learning. Just for tonight, what we're going to do is Miss Magistrato and myself are first of all going to have two parts to this Facebook Live, very similar to last night if you joined our kindergarten Facebook Live. The first part is we're going to talk about the digital portfolios, and we can also talk in general about our learning at Santa Sophia, and we really encourage all our Facebook Live, you call them participants or fans? Are they fans? Yeah, we'll take them fans.
The fans and the participants.
So we want to first of all really encourage you to ask as many questions as possible. And then what we'll do in the second half is we'll actually do a screen share, and we will share with you one of our students' digital portfolios, just to show you what that looks like, and how the students can share it with the parents, so that you can have access to the digital portfolios.
I would also like to say hi to Jess, Kieran, and Danielle. Thank you for your comments, and Fleur as well.
Yeah, so we can see quite a few parents are jumping on board, which is
for participating, everybody.
Yeah. So as we started talking about the digital portfolio, so Ivy, Yeah, can you just give a bit of a rundown, like maybe in science, how the students might use the digital portfolios?
So, so I'm the science teacher at Centre Sophia Catholic College, as well as Mr. Knight. And what we do is at Centre Sophia we give projects. So in science, currently we're doing a project that involves ecosystems, food chains, food webs, and cells. So what happens is that within the project, the kids have certain benchmarks or certain tasks that they need to complete, and then they receive feedback on those specific tasks, as well as all of the classwork as well. But those ones are benchmarks that they need to complete in order to complete the project. And with those benchmarks, so there's benchmark 1, 2, and 3, we've done 4 at the moment. With benchmark 1, they would complete it. I would, myself and Mr. Knight would mark it. Then what they would do is they would upload that benchmark onto their Google site, so their digital portfolio. And we've got specific questions that they need to answer. So one of them would be, what grade did you get? And the other one would be, what feedback did you receive? So they themselves summarize what the teachers, or what myself and Mr. Knight have, the tips that we've given them to improve. They summarize all of that. And then the last question would be, what are my next steps? What am I going to do to improve? So all of that, that whole process is basically on them to reflect on their own learning. Us as teachers, we're there to guide, and we're a resource in the classroom. But at the end of the day, it's them. They're the ones who are reflecting. It's their learning. So we want them to go through this process to become independent learners.
Yeah, and hello to all those parents that are jumping on board. So it's wonderful to see you, and we're getting a lot of thumbs up, which is quite good when you're
Thanks
doing
for that.
Facebook Live.
Everyone.
So one of the things at Santa Sophia, which we try to help our students, is help them, once they graduate. We want to prepare them for the workplace. We want to prepare them for life. And one of the things more and more that universities, tertiary institutions, and the workplace are looking for is some type of portfolio, some type of showcase of the students' work, because more and more tertiary institutions, the workplace, are going away from just ATARs and final HSC exam marks, and they want to know more about the student, and they want to know what have the students actually been doing in school over the course of the years they've been there. So using the digital portfolios, how does that kind of fit into preparing kids for the workplace and for life after school?
Yeah, so the digital portfolio, as we mentioned before, it tracks all of their, their learning and their reflection throughout all of their subjects, as well as across, all of the projects that they, had completed. And I think one thing that's really good about the digital portfolio is that it shows improvement. So it shows what they did with feedback and how they improved. And it's not just throughout, just 1 year, year 7, or only in year 8. It's from year 7 to year 12. So it's pretty much a compilation of all of their assessments and all of their classwork and what they did with it in order to improve themselves as a learner. So if they were to, graduate in year 12 and then, bring their digital portfolio to a potential employer, then the employer can have a look at it and see how well they've reflected, what grades they got, but most importantly, the improvement that they had shown throughout their whole schooling life.
Oh, wonderful. And welcome, Lynn and Monica Mercado, to the Facebook Live. So you're very welcome. One of our parents and also people on the Facebook Live, I want you to think back to what report time's like, either for your own children or you yourself as students, and think back to what was that feeling when you knew that report was coming? Was it a sense of, I know what I'm going to be, what type of grade I'm going to get, or were you scared, like a lot of students are? And speaking to a lot of students and speaking to parents, the reason is a lot of times they don't know what's going to happen. They feel a little bit apprehensive to, I don't know what my son or daughter is going to get in their grade. It's half yearlies are coming up, or the end of the year's coming up. We at Santa Sophia didn't want that. We wanted our parents to have 24/7 access to their children's learning, knowing what type of grade they're getting, how they're going, so that every single day they could check in and know during the projects and the subjects exactly how they're going, what type of grades they're getting, what's the teacher saying, how are they reflecting on their learning. So Ivy, how would you say like the parents and could make use of the digital portfolio in that regard?
So what would happen is that, your child would have the digital portfolio and the link. So that's in the form of a Google site. And what they would do is they would share that with you and through your email. And that would give you access to look at the published version of their digital portfolio. And what that means is that the published version is just the version that's updated on the internet, and you cannot edit it. So the students are the ones who edit the portfolio, and they press publish. Then it goes to the internet, and then when you have the link, then you can view it. So every single week, we ask the students to upload certain tasks and certain feedback, and to reflect on their learning. And that list of tasks, those lists of tasks, is also on their digital portfolio, so you can see exactly what they should be uploading every single week, so that that it's current. So what would happen is that you would have a look at all of their subjects. You would also look at that list. You would look at what grade they got, the quality of their reflections, their feedback feed forward, how they're improving, and you can also track. Say for example in science, they got maybe a D for one task, and then the next one you could see that they got a B, and then the next one they got an A, but then you can also see their reflection throughout that whole thing. So for them, for the child, they need to share it with the parents in order for that to happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Ivy. And in part 2 of our Facebook Live, for those of you that have just joined on, what we'll do is we will have a part 2 where we will actually share a student's digital portfolio through a screen share, and we'll talk you through the specifics of the digital portfolio and just have a look at some of the pages and how we actually share the site with yourself. So I can see some comments coming through. So welcome Mariana, Hugo, Evelyn, and Kerry Bollard to our Facebook Live. And I can see that Kerry's asked a really good question about how long is the data stored, so that students in the future can access it. So that's a great question, Kerry. And right now, the students are the owners of their site. So it is a Google site, which they have. And what can take place is the students, once they nearing the end of year 12, for instance, they can actually change ownership to another email. So if once they, for instance, go into university, or there's a private email that student is going to use longer term, then that particular site can be transferred over. So technically speaking, that student can have access to that site as long as they want. So that's one of the wonderful things with Google Sites, that it's connected not only to the student as the owner, but it also allows the sharing capacity, which makes something like this a really easy way to really store the students' learning. And what a great way to kind of have a look at how they've progressed, all the way from year 7 to year 12. And in the primary, there are ways that we're looking at as well. I mean, currently it's Seesaw that the primary school use to connect the parents with what they're learning. And we use Seesaw as well as in the secondary, but more the digital portfolio is our primary way of communicating the learning with our parents.
Yeah, and I think also, not just for the parents, but the students themselves, they'll be really, fascinated at their own growth, starting from year 7 to year 12. And I'm sure that they'll find it quite humorous looking at all of their past tasks from year 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to year 12. So I think that it will be really good. That's a great question, Kerry. And hopefully they'll also really enjoy that journey.
Yeah, and we the digital portfolios is something that's one part of I guess trying to help our students be independent learners. At the end of the day, that's what we all want from our students. We want them to graduate our school and in life be independent, know how to make the right decisions, help them learn, because learning doesn't end at the end of school. So we've got one of the processes we have in school is we invest time with the students and we run a self-directed learning time slot which occurs once a week where the students have time to work on their digital portfolios. So Ivy, you want to explain a little bit what happens in our self-directed learning time?
No. So every single week, so we allocate, currently we're allocating 2 hours every single week for the students to, spend time reflecting on their learning. So as I mentioned before, the teachers write down on this list what the students need to upload and what they need to reflect on in their digital portfolio for every subject. So they've got a tab in their digital portfolio for every subject. And within that time, we look at, goals, we look at, we look at if the student's using their time wisely, because we also have a timesheet that will show you when we do the screen share. And what the kids, what they do is they log into to the digital portfolio and they document what they're doing during self-directed learning time. So if they are doing, X number of tasks, then they need to log that in, and that way, the teachers can track, and also, for themselves, they can see that they're using their time wisely within the self-directed learning slot. We also focus on goals, so looking at the virtues. Every single term they look at a virtue and how they can apply that into their lives. But majority of the time, the students are reflecting. They have many tasks, so they've got tasks for all their subjects that I mentioned, and they're doing. They're looking at their grade for their task. They are looking at their feedback. So where am I now in my learning? And feed forward. So what are my next steps? And that is actually quite a long process, especially for those who need a bit more prompting with their reflection. And that's what the teachers are there for.
Excellent. One of the things that schools are mandated to kind of feedback to parents is a summative report. And often that becomes, in terms of a half-yearly report and a yearly report. And that's why normally it's the time where it's most anxious in a household, because a lot of parents and students don't know what's happening. What we have here at Santa Sophia is we focus a lot on our formative assessment, which is basically that ongoing assessment. And not only do we do that in the classroom, but through the digital portfolio, we give students the ability to reflect. So every week, nearly, they're completing work and some type of, in one of the projects or another, a benchmark is due. They're reflecting on grades that the teacher's giving them back. And that builds towards what we call their summative report. So welcome, Danielle, and you've got a question there around, the students at Santa Sophia, do they receive a traditional report card? So at the end of each semester, the students will receive a report card. However, the difference is, there's a couple of differences. The first thing is, it's not going to be a guessing game for the students, for the teachers or the parents, because you are going to know, if you are accessing the digital portfolio, how your son or daughter is traveling throughout that semester by jumping onto the different pages, having a look at the different projects and seeing the grade that your child is receiving and the feedback that they're getting. So that's one thing. Now, when it comes to the report card, our report card, it's mandated that we must report A to E in the subjects, but the additional I guess, thing that we do here at Santa Sophia is we report not only on their subject areas in terms of the grade, but we report on their capabilities. Ivy, I'm going to throw you to what exactly does that mean in terms of reporting on a capability?
So with the capabilities, I should say, with Santa Sophia, so we have a couple. So we've got there like, communication, critical thinking, creativity, holy wisdom, how well they can work in groups, so collaboration. So what we do is throughout the semester, then we track in our projects. We also have like, certain parts there that, focus on critical thinking or focus on creativity, how will they use technology. So we embed that into our projects. And what we do is, we're assessing those along the way. So in the semester report, even though, as Darryl mentioned, they will get grades for all of their subjects, but from what we've assessed throughout the semester, and when I say that, I mean the capabilities. So we were observing how well they can work in groups, or if they had shown great critical thinking skills in that particular project, we add that into the report. So that way, the report is more holistic, and it's not just solely focused on what did they get in English, what did they get in maths. It provides a more well-rounded picture of the student.
Thank you, Ivy. So yeah, focusing on those capabilities that the workplace need and really setting our students up not only for the workplace but for life in general. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick pause, and we're going to jump into part 2, where we're going to screen share. And I thank Daniela Krasnicki, who, through permission through her and her parents, have allowed us to share her digital portfolio. And we will just talk you through the different pages of the portfolio and how we do some of the sharing, so that you as the parent can have access to your child's. So we'll be back in 30 seconds, and if you can join us for part 2, what you might want to do is also have your child's portfolio there, maybe, if you've got access to that. And as we talk you through it, you might also want to navigate through the different pages. Okay, so see you very soon.
See you guys.
Welcome back to our part 2 of our Facebook Live. Apologies, a bit of technical difficulties, but we've got our screen share working now. So for those of you that have just joined us, I'm Mr. Castellano, and I'm gladly joined with Miss Magistrato. And what we did in our part 1 was just talk about the importance of the digital portfolios and what they were. And now we're lucky enough to do a screen share and actually share with you Daniela Krasnicki, one of our Santa Sophia students in Year 8, who has given us permission to share her page and her site. So I'm going to hand it over to Miss Magistrato, who's just going to talk to you about the digital portfolio, how you navigate through it, and then we'll talk to you about how we can share it with you.
Okay, so we've got here Daniela's homepage, and the homepage has really important documents on here. So just a little blurb there about who Daniela is, as well as her timesheet. So as I mentioned before in the previous video, the slot or the section of time every single week where the students work on their digital portfolios, that's called self-directed learning. And what happens in there is that the student, has a couple of tasks to upload and reflect on onto their digital portfolio, and this is where they record all of the work that they have done within that session, as well as how long it took them to complete. And you can see here that we've got some tutor comments as well. The teacher can check the digital portfolio, make sure that it's up to scratch, and give some some feedback and some suggestions as well. Then we've got here the weekly tasks. So in the previous video I also mentioned that there was a Google Doc or a document where the teachers actually enter what they would like for the student to complete and for the student to reflect on within that week. So we can see here that term 2, week 1 and week 2, Daniela had a couple of things that she needed to upload onto her digital portfolio. And the reason why this section, this document is on the cover page as well is to make it easier for the parents to understand what needs to be on the digital portfolio, and so that you can see as well that the student is current and up to date. Then here we've also got a Google Calendar. So this is where Daniela's and all the students' homework would be, as it is linked to a Google Classroom, which is a platform where the teachers upload tasks and the students submit the tasks. So she already has an assignment that's due on the 24th, and that way the parents can also have a look and see what's due. Ideally the students are also writing this in their diary, but you've got here another way to check that they are doing their homework. If I scroll back up, you can see there as well that Daniela has all of these tabs. So these tabs are basically, all of her work for term 1, and she's got there all of her subjects. If I go back, and I'll have a look here at year 8, year 9, 10, 11, and 12. So as we mentioned before, this is a way for the student to compile all of their assessments and their tasks all the way up to year 12. If we have a look here at what Daniela had done in term 1 in year 7, so this is, last year, she's got there her first project in English was a time capsule. It's called Time Capsule. Whoops, don't know how to get rid of that. All right, so the questions that they need to reflect on, the first one is, where am I going in my learning? And that's where we've got there the rubric that the teacher gives to the students so that they know how to be successful in the project. So it's got there all of the requirements that are needed in the end product or in the project as a whole. So that's the first question, where am I going? The next question is, where am I now? So this one is quite critical in terms of, the students know where they are in their learning, because the next question is, what are my next steps? So they need to know exactly where they are and what grade they had received, so that you've got their feedback, their grade. So, Daniela reflected on her grade, she got an A. And then here, what are my next steps? So what can I improve? And she said here that she needs to work on editing, punctuation, all of these different things. So as I mentioned before, it's more powerful for the student to come up with the next steps and for them to reflect on the feedback, as opposed to the teachers telling them what they need to do. It's just more powerful because it comes from them, and it puts a responsibility back on them to be an independent learner. And you can see here that she has compiled many tasks within this project, and she reflected on so many things. And then you've got there here as well an overall subject reflection. So that's done in the form of a video. So after that project, she reflected on the whole project herself, and that way she could use that reflection for the next project.
Excellent. So if you're a parent out there and you're you want to really know how my child is going in their different subjects, you can see through the digital portfolio. It's a beautifully organized site where all you need to do is to go onto that top tab. If they're in year 7, it's reflecting on their year 7 projects. And then if they're in year 8, you can see, so for Daniela, if she goes through the different subjects, clicking on any of the different tabs there, and you go onto that, you'll see that there are different reflection points, grades, and so forth. So you can have access. You can check daily or weekly what your child is, how they're going, what grades they're receiving. And also then when it comes to report time, it's not a guessing game. You can help your child as the semester goes on. You can really tap into their child, into their learning. So here, welcome, Andrew. We can see you've got a question there about getting a client error when Joshua shares his portfolio. So if you have problems, first of all, with the sharing, just last week, our Santa Sophia, through a school bag app, there was a notice that was sent out, a notification, and that notification had a couple of things. First of all, it had a video how to access your child's digital portfolio. So how do you actually go through the sharing process? So I encourage everyone to just have a look at that, to go through that school bag notice again. What we will do, on the comment section, is we will resend that link out so that you have that video, that whole school bag notice, so that you've got the video and you've also got some of the instructions how to do that. One of the things that you must have in order for you to have access to your child's digital portfolios, you must have a Gmail account. So you must have a Google account, because this is a Google site. So part of the notification and instructions is how you actually set up a Google account, and it's actually pretty easy to do if you've got, for instance, a Yahoo account or you've got a Big Pond account. Through your email, there's a simple instructions which can actually convert that to a Gmail account, and so you'll have an email, and then you can gain access to that. So I encourage parents out there, if you're not sure and you don't have a Google account, please have a look at that school bag notification which came out last week. But again, we will include that as part of the comments on this Facebook Live. Let's say now that you do have a Google account, we'll just quickly go through how you actually can share and have access to your child's digital portfolio. So what we need to do is, for your child's digital portfolio, you can see the first thing is I've exited out of the preview page, and now we're going into what we call our editing view. Now on the top here, the fourth option there is share with others. So if you were sitting with your child, yourself or your child would press that share with others button, and then you can see that there are different options. What you need to do is, where it says invite people, you would click into the invite people, and then you would enter your Google email or your Gmail. Okay, so you would put that into that, for instance. So if it is Fred at Gmail, for instance, .com. A very important step here is then once you click on that, you have to ensure that you've got viewing access only. Okay, so where it says can edit, you want to change that to can view published. And that allows the parents to access their child's digital portfolio, but just in case they press the wrong button or do something, it won't edit that child's site. So again, that's if you've got a Gmail account, and then you would press send, okay? And then what would happen when you press send is you would then get an email, which would give you a direct link into your child's digital portfolio.
And it's saying that, so Daryl mentioned a really important point, that the child needs to press publish. So if I exit out of here, then it'll be the responsibility of the student to press publish. And I've just published something right now. All right, so what happens is that if the student doesn't press publish, then it means that everything that they had done, all the edits that they had made, if they don't press publish, then it won't go onto the internet. It won't go it won't go onto the updated version of the site that the parent sees. So it's really important that the student presses publish, or else you might have a look and see that there's nothing there. So don't freak out. It probably just means that they hadn't pressed publish.
Okay. So just one last thing here. We got a question from Kerry about can this video of instructions be posted on the Facebook video section as well? So absolutely. So all of our Facebook Lives, what we do is we capture them then in a video format so that you can go back to that, or if you happen to miss our Facebook Live, you've always got access to all of these videos. And what we will also put on there will be the instructions of the so how do you access for instance, your child's digital portfolio. So that particular school bag app, where we were lucky to have our ICT trainee, Mrs. Campbell. Miss Campbell made some great resources, how to access your child's digital portfolio and how to set up a Gmail account. All that will be posted in the comment section so that you've got access to that.
Okay, so thank you, Daryl, and thank you, Ivy. Thank you, parents, for tuning in. Can I just, in closing, remind you of our next PEN event, which is Dr. Justin Coulton on the 19th of June at St. Mark's, 9 Ways to a Resilient Child, and that's at 6:30 p.m. at the St. Mark's Hall in Perfection Avenue. Okay, thank you everyone, and until next time, see ya.
Thanks everybody
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Bye. Wow, that was great. That was awesome.
It will